South Korea. First game.
Indeed, and here we go in this first game of the day. Rune Blaster against Innovation, another Genesis.
All right, now we know why Rainer wasn't sent out first.
I was going to say, I feel like I know why at least Rainer wasn't sent out first. Of course, me and Nona also could have been sent out, I suppose. But then there's a chance that Sue would have come out, and then that would have been, oh, maybe not so good. So this makes sense just for the map that comes first and foremost here in this best of 7. In the bottom right, as the Red Terran for South Korea, he is Innovation.
And his opponent, right here in the top left, the blue Terran, here to take out the map for his good friend Rainer, he is Rune Blaster. I mean, Rainer said it in an interview. I think people could probably say that was a mean thing to say, but they did say it. It's like, if he doesn't like the map to start things off, we'll take this one out, right?
Yeah.
It's actually the Stefano strategy. When we talked about his performance in Nation War 3, I was like, guys, you don't realize how important I was in taking out the bad maps for Marine Lord. He literally said that. So I guess, you know, it could work.
Yeah,
it could actually work.
It makes absolute sense. I mean, I don't think that the... this happens in many teams, right? Like, even Norway is a bit of this coming up next, is that the other 2 members of the team aren't, you know, the shining stars. So does that mean they're completely useless? That, you know, the Snoot or Rainer just says, like, okay, you guys don't even do anything, let me take care of this? No, absolutely not. Like, they could definitely do some studying for him. They could take out maps that are particularly bad for him. They could even just be a scout. You know, if this was an okay map, maybe, but Rainer wanted to kind of get a glimpse as to who came out first, so he could maybe at least, you know, think about a plan versus Innovation, for instance, then that would still be a very useful plan coming out for Italy. So with that said, we are in now the TVT, so we should get in the nitty-gritty of the details and how likely is Rune Blaster to really be able to do something here. And unfortunately, in a TVT, I feel you either got to really cheese them out, which Innovation would expect, or you're just going to be dominated by mechanics. Like, it can definitely be a tricky matchup, and there's, you know, the whole Cyclone shenanigans sometimes really works against Innovation even. I feel like that's one of the reasons even Thermal took him out in IEM, but is Rune Blaster really up to that? Because Thermal is like one of our best foreigners, so compare him to that is quite difficult.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one, and just to start things off, I don't really like the strategy that Rune Blaster goes for. You know, it's like, I'm playing another ladder game. Well, no, you're playing a best of 1 against freaking Innovation, and he's playing, you know, the middle of the road. I get, you know, my factory probably will go into Hellion Cyclone as the first cycle. Actually going to go for 2 Hellions, but I feel like he puts himself in a position that he could just lose straight away against Innovation that went for some aggressive build on 1 base with double extractor. Hopefully, and luckily, that command center just finished, but we're already looking at 2 Reapers in the main base, and Rune Blaster only has 1, it's out of position. He will lose some SCVs right here and there.
Maybe 3, as some of them are still very low. Actually, Tango's with the Hellions for a second longer than he probably should have, but still losing 5 SCVs, so that's even better than the 3 I was thinking of, is pretty good. And then he will follow up with Cyclones to put him in a very safe state. Innovation was the one to go for the factory expand. He was probably at least a little worried about the size of the map, the chances that his opponent would cheese him. Yeah. You know, that just makes sense. But he went for a very safe way of playing, actually, that does provide that little bit of aggression. And in this case, the aggression did wonderfully. It killed 5 SCVs.
Yeah, it's a really good opening here for Innovation, obviously. Lowering the number of SCVs. Even though Rune Blaster went for a more economical build, he has 3 less SCVs than Innovation. And now will get his second base going. Orbital will finish in a couple of seconds. We'll be able to drop some more mules. And, well, Innovation will follow it up with a Raven. He's got the bunker right in place at the perfect timing. We'll have to pull some SCVs, though, to repair this one. But, you know, easy peasy on Innovation side for now.
It was the scariest point of this game, perhaps. Innovation saw that there was, of course, Cyclones going to be pumped out next from a reactor factory, so he knew a bunker was going to be temporarily necessary and even a repair. If it was a case where he didn't get the scout and then 4 Cyclones suddenly showed up, he would probably have died even with what he's doing. But, of course, he's a smart guy. He knows exactly how to survive, and he will be going into Stim, whereas Rune Blaster is going into Mech.
Okay, once again, we'll have to pull some SCVs if the bunker... Well, actually, the bunker will be taken out. Rune Blaster didn't really give away any units for it. Just a lot of HP on those Cyclones. But the thing is, with the tanks in Jig up right after that, he doesn't have the opportunity to go further. So it's not like actual damage. He killed a 100 mineral bunker and pulled a couple of SCVs out of the mineral line. It's not that bad, but still pretty, you know, small victory on the side of Ruin Blaster that will now repair his Cyclones and go into mech, as you said. So it's going to be bio versus mech. Ruin Blaster will have to have perfect defense, because the way I see it, when Innovation gets his hands on a couple of Medivac and Stim Bio, could go fast.
Yeah, the Abiogenesis is frightening because of how small it is, but if you get past that point where you have 3 bases with, like, let's say 6 tanks, so you can kind of spread them around. If you can get to a sensor tower even, like, then I feel mech's very, like, safe. Like, you can instantly reply to most drops or doom drops, as it's a small map, and if they do mess up once, say they give away 20 supply they didn't really intend to, there's an instant snapback where the mech player's like, well, time to go now, and what can you do? So, but at this point right here, right now, when you are only on 2 bases, you don't really have a high tank count, it can be very scary. The Cyclones really fall off against Stim's Bio too. It looks like Ruin Blaster is kind of doing what we saw Special doing, actually, when he goes to the 2 factories and 1 starport, and then he goes for double Liberator.
Yeah.
If these go to harass, he's obviously at even less units than I was talking about, but they say at home maybe they could help out, but it's a scary point, and one of the major reasons that Special even survived that game versus Innovation was that his harassment did so much, and he had such excellent defense with very few units. Like, it's actually kind of a similar game to that one, now that I think more and more about it.
But yes, Innovation goes for that timing. He does have Stim right now, might throw down a 3rd CC, but he's on the warpath right now, and he's got a Raven, as Mapu is selecting for about 1.5 minutes. He wants us to talk about it. 170 energy on this Raven, which means we'll have a couple of Matrix available to maybe take down the 2 tanks, only 2 tanks that Ruin Blaster has. So it might be tough. Even 3 tanks. He's got 150 energy. He can throw down 3 of those Matrix.
Yeah. Innovation saw one of the Liberators, so he should know the plan. He also saw the Starport, and it seems to be just getting more popular to have 2 Liberators immediately pop out. So instant kill on that Liberator. This will have to be pulled away. This Blizzard was a little bit late. Oh, no, it only gets a couple of SCVs.
Yeah, 2 SCVs and a Marine for 2 Liberators. Obviously, not a good trade at all for Ruin Blaster, but on the opposite side of the map, Innovation wasn't able to find a hole in the defense of the Italian player. And now that he drops the 3rd CC, once again, Ruin Blaster will have to have perfect defense if he doesn't want this game to snowball out of control.
Maybe he's good to go now. The Raven isn't as scary as it was when there was 2 or 3 siege tanks. Okay, and it might die.
Okay, he's gonna use a missile to start things off, but a lot of Marauders and a tank on siege will go to the left side, gets 2 tanks out of this, and suddenly, just, you know, with the flip of a button, instantly Innovation should take down this match. It's gonna be 1-0 GG. Innovation takes game 1. I mean, quite expected.
Yeah,
but it's just like, Innovation's way too good.
I mean, think of how...
I don't have anything else.
Think of how...
Waits a little bit, maybe this game goes a little bit longer. I'm not saying that the outcome would have been different, but it was a little bit too, fast for me on the side of Ruin Blaster. He was punished for it, but nothing out of, nothing that we didn't expect, because Innovation is a beast, and now the big guns are coming on the side of Italy, because Rainer is out, TVZ on Blackpink, showed amazing game. I think, either against Time and Clem on this map, so he does really know this map quite well. And for his double upgrade style, counter-attack with Zerglings, it's a perfect map for it.
This is, at least in my eyes, the match I was kind of waiting for. The real test for Rainer up against the big boss himself in the top right. As the Red Terran for South Korea, it is Innovation.
And in the bottom left, he is the best player in Italy. Shocked everybody with how good he is and how cute he is. He is Rainer.
All right, going for that pool first. So we might see some wings pop out to try and get Innovation just a little off in the beginning of the game. A little off.
A little off.
Yeah, if Innovation goes for a Marine follow-up, though, it's almost... It's almost a counter to like exactly 2 lings. If there's 6 lings, then it's not really, but we'll see what Rainer's plan is. I feel like a lot of Zergs lately have been doing this and then even really not committing. They just literally hide the lings far beyond when the Hellions would even be out, but they still get a scout, which is quite nice. But yeah, if you can, getting a delay in the CC, bringing the Reaper back home, scaring Innovation a little bit. As Innovation, apparently, you know, according to MMA, not taking this super seriously, doesn't study Reynor a lot. Does he think this guy is good, but is he cheesy? Is he just purely macro-oriented? I mean, that's a big question here.
Of course.
For Innovation, as Reynor, we kind of know how his style is, but apparently Innovation doesn't.
I can't believe that Innovation would go into this match without having seen like at least the best of 5 that he played against Special. I mean, even if you don't take it seriously, like, what is it? Like, you're a StarCraft 2 pro gamer. You're already spending probably 12 to 14 hours of your day just playing StarCraft or watching StarCraft or, you know, just, you know,
maybe,
get a little bit of information going on this guy that everybody's talking about, you know, that 15-year-old Italian guy. That's killing everybody.
It is smart for Innovation, though. Like, if he's taking this as he would any other match, like, you know, he didn't have time to study. It's smart for him to do what he's doing. You know, he's kind of looking around with the Reaper. He's keeping it at home. He does get the extra Marine. If the Reaper's not here and it's just a Marine, these Lings would absolutely kill it and delay the command center. But the Reaper here, too, it's a little more questionable. And Reynor's got to do, exactly, some cool tricks here to try even get the SCV. The Reaper seems a bit out of reach, considering it's Innovation controlling it.
The Zergling split is quite good, though. I liked it, that he kept the Zergling to just cancel the regen on this one. Poke the Marine, got the SCV. We're still looking at 3 Zerglings. The other one is actually taking down a SCV that was building the factory. It will not die in the end. But it's pretty decent damage. I mean, this CC is not building right now, and it was only 6 Zerglings got an SCV out of the trade. Pushed back the Reaper, so no scout on the side of Innovation. That might be paranoid a little bit, considering he hasn't seen anything. Yeah. I mean, you know, decent defense, but also decent opening for Reynor as well.
I would say it's pretty good, you know, like if another SCV immediately came down and started building the command center, I would say maybe not. If the SCVs hadn't been like pulled even a little bit off the line to help with it, then maybe not. But like everything combined for 6 Lings, I feel like that delay, a little bit of mining loss was worth it. There wasn't really much scouting to be done, unfortunately, at that time, which would have made it even better for Reynor. Like we saw, you know, the starport building Cloak or not, but that was just way, way far off. So he's going to have to get another scout somehow because we do have an armory on the way.
Yeah, and that's a scout that he wants to get, obviously. Already tells me that it's a pretty decent build against what Reynor is showing us, right? Like, Reynor wants to invest his early gas more into upgrades than, you know, a Quick Lair or a Baneling Nest or a Roach Warren. That's not really his style. So opening up with those Hellbats, I quite like it. On the side of Innovation, we'll have to see if the execution is on par. He actually went for a Medivac first, so it's going to be a Hellion drop into probably a Hellbat transformation, either in the main or a run-by at the same time. Follows it up with a Liberator. That's already a lot of units that are committed to do some damage. If Reynor is able to defend that without taking any losses, or at least not that much, looking quite good for the Italian player.
Yeah, perfect Overlord positioning for this. It is still kind of tricky to tell if they're the Hellions were picked up. So now there's just, there's no Hellion drop anymore, but there's also just a few less for the Hellbat push. I believe Lings were waiting in the third base, but maybe they got moved back. So Innovation's not going to be countered while he does this, but the Liberator should be maybe going to the main. We have a Raven follow-up. Innovation is going into mech with that upgrade already on the way. There it is. Oh, it's going to go to the third. Maybe help out the Hellbat push, or maybe he just won't do it anymore.
And he's actually going to drop some more Hellions into the main base. So try to bait the attention of Reynor around that third base and get some more damage done in the main. I think this Liberator has been scouted on the side of Reynor. He's not reacting at the moment. He will just bypass the Queens with his Liberator, go to the natural. No spores here, no reaction to the drop in the main base. This will deal a lot of damage, even though I'm not even sure about the transformation in Hellbats. He would have been able to deal a little bit more damage, but the Zerglings are already there. And suddenly, yes, the Hellbats are quite useful, even though the drones are not touched here. That's a lot of Zerglings that are going down. Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised he transformed into Hellbats. I guess he was also focusing on there was maybe like a couple Hellions went into the third, but Queens were there. 7 drones in total, maybe a Queen. Nope, not quite a Queen. Is that worth it? A lot of time lost mining in the main. It's Hellions, which Innovation is going to be making anyways. And he did take a lot of Lings with him too. Yeah. But for what a surprise that almost was, he like successfully dodged so many Overlords. I thought it was going to do more.
Oh yeah, I expected 15 drones, but in the end it was just not that many drones. But the amount of Zerglings that died in the main is a little bit frightening, I think, on the side of Reynor. He needs to replace those to have a little bit of map control. Also messed up is upgrade timing here, because as you can see, only one Evo is researching anything, so the carapace will go down, but the melee or the missile will not be started yet, so let's see if Reynor does realize. I should know, I'd say, that it's a mech transition. Yes, definitely, now that he sees the cyclones and the barracks floating in the middle of the map. So let's see what Reynor tries to do to counter this, because for now he hasn't been able to be all over the map like he likes to do.
You know, a lot of Zergs are admitting that they are a little lost against mech, that it's a little difficult. Maybe they get into good positions, and then it's just not quite cuts it at the end. So I hope Reynor has a plan here. He's going into Roaches, starting the +1 missile. Good standard units, of course, to open up with, but we'll see how he takes it to the next level. How quick is his hive, for instance? As you're right, he hasn't really been able to do any of those counters, and with it being non-stop Hellions, it feels unlikely he can. But, you know, Roaches, we saw Cyril do some, like, wonderful, like, using Roaches almost like Lynx yesterday. So if Reynor can replicate that, then Innovation still needs to be careful with how aggressive he is, how much he's underestimating this guy. But we actually have a Spire.
Interesting take on things on the side of Reynor here. Cheeky counterattack, we'll get a Mule. Actually gonna escape with 3 Zerglings. That was not expected, as at the same time we'll take control of the south side Zelnaga. So a pretty nice sequence from Reynor here. For the last 30 seconds he was in control. He gets the entire map control here. We'll lose the south tower as soon as he got it. 2 Zerglings against Albat, not a fair fight. Albat will take this one. Yeah, once again, it's going to be counterattack, and the first units that were out of those tech labs were Thors. So they're not here to help out. There's not that many tanks. There's actually none for the moment. The Raven, Hellions, and Cyclone did the job, even though this missile was a little bit confusing. Those Roaches, they have to go back, and there's nothing here to defend. Even the Spire could be in danger.
It's going to be scouted, which is probably the worst thing about it. Or is it?
Maybe not.
Or is it? They're so close. If they chase the drones at all, it's going to happen.
Okay, Reynor is not moving back. He's actually going to try to go for a counter once again. He's got a lot of Roaches on the other side of the map. But those 2 Thors with only a couple Roaches is not going to be enough. The Mutalisk, or at least the Spire, will get scouted here. Nice transfuse at the last possible moment. We'll try to go for another one. Now Innovation has to pull back, but I think he did most of the damage that he needed to. We'll keep on going up to that 4th base, get a Novolot for free, and obviously that scout on the Spire, which is quite important in this game.
I feel like if Reynor hadn't taken any damage, or just in general, maybe it was a little bit faster on the Roach speed, he could have had the almost, like, you know, brought up Cyril, like doing again, like almost that timing where the Roaches are there, and the mech player panics if they don't have tanks quite yet. But he was a bit slower to the Roach speed, so that first attack with the Roaches didn't work out, and then tanks could siege up, and Innovation could focus entirely on the Thor drop, which clearly Reynor did not scout, and was probably hoping it would just come back and defend. But now we have the Mutas out in the map, and while they're not really supposed to do a lot of damage anymore, it's really too bad the Spire was scouted. They can still get a lot of scouting done, definitely bother the mech player for sure. It's just, you know, they don't really want to put down a ton of missile turrets. They know this is highly unlikely to be committed to.
Yeah, but now the Thors, oh my god, the Mutalisk comes up, and every single Muta is just dead, vaporized here by those 2 Thors. I mean, they stacked for the Thor, just for the Thors, to just, you know, wipe them out. That was they did. That was quite sad for Reynor, that invested quite a bit of money here, about like 1,000 minerals and 1,000 gas here, for a couple of Mutas that did what, like 5 SCVs, not even destroying that extractor. That was not good at all, as we have the Hive follow-up on the side of Reynor, but look at the supply on the side of Innovation. He's on the warpath. That missile will connect with everything. What is this radius? I can't believe.
The Innovation is really just taking control over this game. Reynor has had a couple of unfortunate circumstances, but just the way that he tried playing the mid-game with his Roaches did not work out, and he is in a ton of trouble. Innovation maxed out with even some decent upgrades, and Reynor having pushed off his Hive to one of the later timings we've seen from Zerg players lately. Yeah. I mean, only defending with Roach is something that Innovation did scan. He saw the timing. Should know that he could just kind of bully forward here, but maybe a little low in the tank count still, so he just doesn't really want to just kind of walk through a bunch of Roaches.
Okay, Inno will go and try to defend that counter-attack with massive amount of Roaches. Once again, the missile will connect with most of the roaches, and Reynor has to go back to the creep and evacuate out of here, because that's not a fight you want to take by any means when you don't have any Vipers to follow up with any of those +2, +1 on the side of Terran. Those tanks, they will pack a punch. Reynor tries to go from the other side and gets a couple of tanks for free, but it's not working, and now the army is completely separated from the rest of the bases of Reynor, so that attack just will not go back and might actually end the game for Innovation.
Oh, this is looking very scary. The tanks are plentiful enough. This will do enough. I mean, even if Hellions have to come out to clean up the last few roaches, that's fine. This Reynor is just desperate. He's without Vipers. Absolutely a necessity at this point. Innovation with +3 attack.
Damn.
He's just coming forward here. He does find a mistake as his tanks are on the front lines of his Hellbats, but there's not enough Zerg.
Yeah, there's not enough Zerg, and the counter-attack was blasted away on the opposite side of the map. The tanks were enough to defend against those roaches, and now with a mech army with +3 attack and +2 defense, well, there's nothing that Reynor can do. He's in the middle of all of his bases, which means that the reinforcement will come from every single side. And now, GG, Reynor has to tap out, and it's already a 2-0 on the side of South Korea. Seriously, but I don't think he will. Like that's
He's
not
smart,
the innovation.
man.
He's a smart guy.
He really is.
Especially in those kind of team leagues, he always does so well. He expects his opponent to try and cheese him out, so he plays that kind of style to counteract this.
Okay, and here we go. I'm sure Nona has prepared a lot for this game. He's going to play against Innovation and Eastern Catalyst.
All right, so let's see about this game, because for now, there's a guy here that just doesn't want to lose. He did take out Reynor already, which puts Italy in a bad position. In the top left for South Korea, he is the red Terran, the machine, Innovation.
Of course, wants to make sure people stop bringing up the fact that they did lose against Mexico, where he did play twice. And so far, it's looking good for him. Can this man pull off one of the biggest miracles we have seen in Starcraft 2? Representing Italy, it is Nona, who did say that what he wants to do is play against the Terran. He did say that that is a matchup where he feels he has some potential. Would have preferred to not face a couple of those very scary Zergs out there. He had a good game against Time on Acid Plant. Now, Time is not quite Innovation, but Time is actually pretty freaking good. And Nona made that somewhat close, even though he had a disastrous start. But then those Disruptors did really catch Time a little bit off guard. He got a couple great hits off. However, Innovation just had some fantastic practice against Disruptors, as Hero was attempting a couple of Disruptor builds against him in game 3 and 4 of the GSL Super Tournament. And that's not a spoiler, guys, other than the fact that it's at least 4 games. So, well, if that's a spoiler in the best of 5, then so be it.
No, you're good. You're good. If the chat is mean with you, we'll do stuff with the moderators. Don't worry. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I liked what you said about SOS's build, and like the way he handled it is that show something quite normal, which is what we see for now. Gateway, Nexus, CyberCore, second is Simulator. And in this blind spot, which is like the end of the early game towards the mid game, throw some curveballs, right? Like go for something that's not too expected. It's something aggressive that will help you finish the game right away, because you don't want to see that timer in the bottom left reach the 10th minute mark or the 12th minute mark against Innovation, because that means you're going to have a bad time.
Yep, Innovation, of course, fantastic. Now, it is a factory follow-up, and in general, it's a little bit easier to cheese those factory follow-up builds, because Terran often doesn't have that many units in this phase in the game. The Reaper is going to show up early and probably get at least 1 probe. Now, 1 probe is not the end of the world, but you don't want to end up losing 2 already. Nona, where's that Stalker?
What happened to this Stalker? Why is it so late?
It's just a little late. Oh my goodness, 3 probes already. And look at Inno, he's going to sacrifice the Reaper, but he wants to get 4 kills, and he will get 4 kills. Ay, ay, ay. Now the robotics facility is going to be the follow-up. I'd almost say you want to go for maybe Immortal Sentry and then just try to boss your opponent. Yeah. Because if you want to play this out after losing 4 probes, I mean, if you're clearly the superior player, there are Protosses who can obviously turn this around against Terrans, but not many Protosses who can turn this around against Innovation.
That's the thing. Yeah, I mean, this early opening from Innovation was super worthy here, with 4 probes being taken down by this Reaper. So you just don't want to play a standard macro game, but already from behind, right? Like, you're already way below your opponent in terms of economy. It's a massive problem. So what does he decide to go for if he wants to finish this game?
I say Immortals and Sentries and a Prism and then a proxy. But we'll see. For the people who wonder why on earth did that do so much damage, as we do see the first Immortal fired up, it has to do with a couple of things. Obviously, Stalkers have a longer build time than Reapers do. He also built the gateway all the way in the north side of his base, which means at the moment that the Stalker pops, it still takes a little while before it gets close to that Reaper. And last but not least, I think what me and Nona was hoping for is he's not moving the Stalker yet.
You need to kite perfectly against Cyclones. That's not going to go well. No,
me and
the Stalker.
Okay. Not the worst, right?
That was almost 2 Stalkers, and then if you do lose those 2 and you don't have any units to fall back on, it could have been way worse. But yeah, I guess it was close from being kind of the end of the world here for me and Nona, but he did save the day in the end. And we'll see that RoboBay.
Yeah, maybe it's going to be Disruptors, but like I said before, Innovation recently had some excellent practice against these Disruptors. This drop is terrifying to deal with if you open up the way that me and Nona did, because he only has a single Stalker and an Immortal. Now, there is a shield battery, but obviously Innovation is a world-class player. He's not going to fight on top of that shield battery. And with only a single gate, this is so tough, man. If Innovation is truly feeling it, and if he's going to give us a show, he can actually end the game with this drop.
Yeah, 7 Marines in the early game here when there is not that many units to cover. Every single base is going to be a massive problem for me and Nona. Only 1 Stalker into the main, and 7 Marines with perfect target fire can take down that Stalker, can take down probes, and that's what he's going for. Already 5 that go down. Maybe a 6th one. He will take the fight against that Stalker on the right side. Will connect with the shield battery. So nice play from Nona, saving that Stalker. But 5 probes once again for a minor investment on the side of Innovation with a proper scout on top of it.
Yep, an investment, but not an investment, but not a commitment, because he saves the medevac, he saves the Marines as well. It's not even that he lost everything there, and even if he did, it would have been good. It's safe to say that these Disruptors with that Speed Prism are gonna need some absolutely fantastic hits. Hopefully for me and Nona, he gets 5-6 SCVs with his first 2 shots, and then he also connects with a couple of Marines. This gateway is under a lot of fire, and this gate is actually gonna go down. Doesn't mean he's gonna be on 0 gates.
Did he add a second gates? Oh my god, he doesn't have a single warp gate. And Innovation will pounce on the Stalker right away. Still some energy left in this medevac, and with the end of the boost, he picks up the Marines and goes back. Oh, but that's a lot of units that are awfully stacked here. Already 2 Vikings to take down this Prism, and he won't lose it.
The Prism
Recalls the Disruptor, I like it. But it's still a Prism that went down before Gravitic Drive finished. It was just done here after the Prism died. Awkward timing here for me and Nona. He needs to add on some gateways. Did he build some gateways on the next
Yeah, he's getting a couple of extra gates now, but I mean, let's be honest, this has been an absolutely disastrous game so far for me and Nona. Now, often you say when there is Disruptors, there is a dream, and that's of course true, but I cannot imagine that Innovation is going to keep all his units clumped. He's already got Stim. If me and Nona decides to go up to 3 bases now, he's going to lose his 3rd Nexus almost immediately. If you don't have Blink Stalkers yet, it's actually really hard to get good use out of the Stalkers and Disruptors together, because the moment that he fires his Purifier Novas, that's all he has. Innovation has 1 job here, that is, you know, absorb the first or split against it. I mean, he loses a couple units. 1 more Disruptor shot, and that's it for the DPS or our Protoss.
There is nothing else on the side of me and Nona that can take on this army. Even the Widowmine will connect at the same time. Viking lands in the main base, and this is just a clinic. This is just, and even though that second shot of the first Disruptor was quite decent, well, Innovation has too much. He picks up everything in the medevac and will drop right on top of the army, and that's going to be a 3-0 in favor of Innovation in South Korea. As the Viking in the main base has got 11 probe killed. What did Roddy, I love you? I thought he said it about Innovation, but no, it's you. It's you that he loves.
I love him as well, but I'm sad to see that the game played out the way it did. My mom is cooking over here. Like, I'm getting cauliflower, and I'm like, what the hell? I've been loving it, man, for once in my life. I don't feel super guilty eating at these sports events.
Eating properly for once, getting some decent food for you here at a gaming studio. Neon Violet Square will be the 4th map here between Rainer and Innovation as we transition to our faces instead of the game where we are. And that's going to be a tough one, because this man actually gets to play on another decent mech map and also decent Terran map. He is Innovation for South Korea. Up 3-0.
On the right bottom side, we're looking at the main base of this young man that has looked so freaking good in this tournament. Can he at least get a few wins for Italy? It's Rainer.
Yeah, what a tough match. What a tough round of 8 matchup for Italy here. Going against, well, you know, the masters of the Starcraft universe for about more than 20 years now, which is kind of crazy to think about. Koreans have always dominated, even though we see a lot of players that are pushing the limits right now. People like Cyril come to mind, obviously. But those guys, Showtime, Uthermal, all those guys, they actually do well. And I think we can count on Reynor to be one of those guys in the future.
I'm with you, but I think there's something that's very important to understand. When you talk about non-Koreans versus Koreans, there's 2 different ways to look at it. It's like, how good are the non-Koreans versus the Korean Protosses and Zergs? And in my eyes, there are, not too many, but a handful of guys that can really challenge the best of the best when it comes to, you know, the Korean Zergs and Protosses. I think especially Protoss, but even a couple of the Zergs, we've really seen them dropping series against some of the best foreigners. It's just the Terrans on the Korean scene, they're often on a different level. And they're not even talking about 1 or 2 Terrans. It's often 5, 6, or 7. And because those guys are so freaking good, a lot of those Europeans that don't spend too much time in Korea, they don't get to play against Terrans that are as freaking good as guys like Innovation super often. And that's why sometimes I think it looks a little more one-sided than it actually is in the overall grand scheme of things. But it's mostly just the versus Terran matchup where the non-Korean scene still has some work to do. And I think especially when it comes down to like guys like Inno, Gumio playing mech, I mean, there's just no one who plays mech like them.
Yeah, they're on another level, that's for sure. And that's already a bad start for Reynor. We'll get an extractor going, not even... Oh, actually, that was close.
Cute save.
Cute save indeed, because Innovation was trying to block the construction of this extractor by hugging the gas geyser here. But in the end, Reynor was able to get it going anyways, even though now he has to cancel. It's a weak...
Whoa,
nice.
The Reaper wasn't in the right position, because if it stands closer and would have pressed H, there's no way that that drone could have morphed into... And rally point is a little messed up. Innovation shows that he's a human being. Or is this a trick? Is this a pre-programmed error?
Might be actually. Reynor is like, oh my god, he didn't get the drone. What a scrub! I can win. No, it's going to be a tough one, and that's a really greedy build on the side of Innovation. I mean, wait, he needs to fix the he needs to fix his rally points. Well, getting the 3rd CC before the stop was quite greedy.
But it is Neon Violet Square.
It is a good map to do it on. I agree.
And it's also hard for Reynor to scout, right? It's not like he sees this immediately. This Overlord tries to get a sneak peek, will spot that refinery, so it's something, but this one Marine is going to keep it safe for now. It's just hard for Zerg to truly figure out what exactly is going on without losing your Overlord too early, and then obviously you don't want to lose it too early, because the same thing that goes for Overlord sacrifices goes for the amount of probes that were killed in that previous game. The earlier you lose those things, the more it hurts.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Reynor didn't decide to go for a scout in the main base with his Overlord. He kept them quite far away, so didn't get the scout in the main base, which would have been enough. I mean, you see that the starport is delayed and the factory is not building, you know that the 3rd CC is being planted down somewhere. But for now, Reynor doesn't know. He knows, I think, for sure, just based on the game he played earlier against Innovation, that it's going to be mech. So we see that Roach Warren way earlier. So is it for an aggression? Is it for purpose of defense? I don't really know yet. Might be defensive, as we see the lair coming up in a couple of spores as well. But he has that knowledge that it might be mech, so switched it up from his main build, which is double Evo before lair and double upgrades before lair. This time it's Roach for defense and an earlier tier 2.
We saw already an amazing mech versus Zerg game on this map earlier in this tournament when Kalazur was able to take a map against Cyril. And he did it in a really cool way as well. A couple of great battles ended up in the middle of the map. This is obviously the map for it, like you said, Funka. Now the layer has finished up. Reaper is actually going to get a pretty decent scouter in the main. Won't see too much, but it doesn't happen that often that the Reaper gets into the main base on Neon Violet 5 minutes in.
Yeah, I mean, that's already pretty good for Innovation that he knows the timing on that layer. Might expect that it's going to be more a technological game on the side of Reynor, which was one of the main issues that the Italian player faced earlier, because he wasn't able to get those overly important Vipers against mech.
He had a lot of money in the bank towards the end of the game. The problem is that I do think Blackpink is kind of small compared to Neon Violet Square. So when he was trying to run around with roaches and try to buy some time, there simply isn't too many ways you can do that on Blackpink. I think on Neon Violet Square that's going to be a little bit easier. So if Reynor gets in the same position, which wasn't fantastic, but absolutely playable. On this map, there is a good chance that he has a little more wiggle room with his units and can maybe pick off a couple of tanks while they are rolling to the other side of the map.
Yeah, as he takes a 4th base, it becomes a little bit more...
6 minutes on location.
That's a pretty greedy 4th base once again. I mean, Innovation is playing without fear, you know? He knows that he's not getting all ins, so he actually goes a little bit more aggressive. Good scout, and probably not a cancel, but at least you can get the SCV that's building the 4th TC, so delaying it for a little bit more. The SCV is already there to take the place of the one that just died. Like it. Heidel is then, he's here, but the infestation pit is already done. 6 minutes and 30 seconds. He can start a hive, and that's what he will do.
Super fast hive this game, so there's a good chance that we actually get to see some of those Vipers come into play. Something that Reynor did in the past, which I'm not expecting here because everybody is in love with the Raven at the moment, is that he also likes to get Roach Burrow against some of these mech builds. And he had a couple of sick fights actually on Neon Violet Square against some of the European Terrans, but that was a different patch and everyone loves the Raven at the moment, as one of these Scrambler missiles do go down, or the anti-armor missile. These Roaches are going to take a lot of damage, but the Roach count is high enough, and they will be able to take care of this army without actually losing too much.
Yeah, great pickup. Great pickup from the side of Reynor. I liked it that he just, you know, delayed his attack. 4 Roaches for 4 Cyclones and 3 Hellions. Obviously, in terms of money invested in those 2 armies, well, Reynor is winning this battle. He gets his idol, is gone. And yes, he lost a lot of creep, but he will replace it. Not as important against mech that much, but I like that fight for Reynor. That was nice.
The Tor drop is heading towards the other side of the map, but the Hydras are already on the way. I love the work account at the moment from Reynor. He's at 82. That is really the right amount of workers to start trading out some units. It's a shame he didn't pick up on this Tor drop a tiny bit faster, but like I said, he does have Hydras out already. The first Vipers even on the way. Of course, it's important that you don't lose too much, but this amount of Roaches will take care of it.
Yeah, not even losing the Extractor, which is kind of nice. We'll bring back the gas economy quite fast.
Ooh,
okay, that 5th base, no, that's not gonna work though. The stores, they are well placed, and the army is just a little bit out of position.
But the Vipers are so fast that Innovation has to be a little bit careful. Imagine if he lands an abduct on one of those medevacts.
Yeah, it could be cool. The Vipers do need some energy to be gathered from the buildings before they are able to go for those spells. We also have a 4 Hydra drop on the top side of the map, not moving for the moment, but we can already see how Reynor wants to play this one. More technological with Vipers super early. Not that much of an emphasis on upgrades because he was on a single Evo for the longest time, but also a little bit of multitasking. And in this map, on Neon Violet Square, it has to be drops.
I kind of like that he keeps those Roaches there, because once the fighting starts, he can move those Roaches forward. If there's no high ground vision for Innovation, which currently there isn't there, those Roaches are actually going to be super annoying from the high ground and can potentially get a couple of SVs. Now this 5th base is going to be very important in this game. Okay, there is a Banshee here that can eventually start dealing with these Roaches. That's obviously well done by Inno, but it is very important that Reynor does something about this 5th base. At the same time, we do have that Hydro drop in the main base on Fold, and obviously a single Banshee is not going to take care of this.
Yeah,
it's kind of a cute little drop, but Innovation is so far on top of it. Ooh, that Viking, he snipes the Viking. Yep. That's very nice, because that means that this drop alert can stay around a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's really cute from on the side of Reynor. He gets 5 SCVs, gets that Viking out of the air, and he still has it. The Raven wasn't microed and was taken down by those Hydralisks. Nice start of a fight. The 2 Vipers, they will actually join. The army supply is quite close. The tanks, they will siege, but for now, Reynor just doesn't want to take the fight. We'll lose a couple of Roaches here, but still, SCV is dying at the opposite side of the map. The Hydra drop, he comes back. Reynor finally getting some work done here.
Yeah, and obviously he's distracting the push a little bit as well, but I did think that that army looked a little bit squishy. Doesn't he have a couple of additional Roaches or something? It feels like that can be the entire army. Where are the other Roaches? Okay, he's setting up a little flank, perhaps. Okay, he has a lot of Roaches near the Hydra then. I think it is important that he starts using them, because if he really wants to take an all-out fight here, together with the Vipers as well, I think you want almost everything. Of course, those 3 Hydras, that's not important, because they're actually doing a lot of work. But the Roaches on the 3rd base, he's going to have to use those.
What a massive amount of work those Hydras did do. It's quite amazing. And now
he's
set up. Every single angle is taken down. They hear Blighting Cloud will land on the the tanks. Most of them just cannot shoot here. They will expire. The first one in the bottom side will expire at some point. But those Hydralisks, I think they're doing the job. It's going to be tough though.
There's a lot of tanks. It's so many tanks. The Taurus is still quite healthy as well. I really think that he should have used those roaches. That is like 20 supply that's just standing there. Now Raynor grabs those forces, but imagine if those roaches shove on top of the tanks as well on creep. I truly think that could have made a difference there.
It would have helped tremendously, but now roaches with not anything to tank for him is going to be quite tough against that massive amount of tanks. The Vipers are dead, which means no Blinding Cloud. Is this enough now? Nice splits from Raynor. I think it's going to be enough. He will get this army out of the way, but at what cost? He lost 16 drones, but he's still alive.
Yeah, he's still alive. The biggest problem is, can he do something about that 5th base? The army of Inno right now is actually kind of nothing. It's 4 Hellions, 4 Vikings, and 3 tanks. But of course, that won't take long with all the factories that are pumping out units at a very rapid pace. Ooh, okay, Raynor holds. He can obviously replace those drones quite quickly. He's got a great Aspire on the way, but the Viking count is sort of already there. Imagine a world Funka where he would have used those roaches.
Yeah.
I really think the hold becomes a lot easier. I think he cleans it up a lot easier.
Yeah, it would have been amazing for him if he was able to get that. And for the first time, Innovation will go for the counter-attack here with some Hellions with Blue Flame and get 16 more drones. 18! It's not over yet. Yes, it will stop at 18, but that's the first time that he was able to do that, and that's one of the classical move of the mech Terran, you know, like that's running typical. By those Hellions, but...
That's typical Inno as well, right? There are 10 roaches standing there for 7 minutes. They've got nothing to do. You finally use those roaches in a big fight, and that's when the Hellions show up. It's like, all right, Innovation, all right. It's like you knew.
I can't take it anymore. You're too good. That Overlord, that Dropper will be finally taken out. On the left side with some Vikings that were definitely needed. As you mentioned, the Greater Spire is done now, and we've got 6 Corruptors on the way. Is this a fight that you want to take as Raynor? Might try to get some pulls on those Vikings. Also gets a parasitic bomb here on the Vikings, but nice splits from Innovation, not taking that much damage towards the other Vikings.
What I do always like, though, even though you lost the Vipers there, which is obviously painful, but if you throw up a parasitic bomb, even if it just connects with all the other Vikings for like 2 seconds, they're all hurt immediately, and it forces the mech player to repair them, and that stuff is just kind of annoying. Like, that's a lot of permanent damage. If he decides to take the next fight with this amount of HP, you know, you already made an impact on the next fight with your previous parasitic bomb, so that wasn't the worst. I would like to see Raynor maybe get a few more drones, though, because he's simply not that rich. Eventually he's going to need another base as well, because playing against a meching Innovation, if you're just not able to truly stop his economy, and Inno is currently at 89 SCVs, which is perhaps even a few too many, but
it's
obviously...
just disgusting, man.
Yeah, obviously, you'd rather have too many than too few. You can always end up losing a few. And I like what Raynor was doing early on with the Dropper Lord. That was good stuff, but after that, he couldn't follow it up, and then Innovation just made this entire map his playground once again.
Yeah, now getting to 6 bases, actually double expanding towards the north, but also at 9 o'clock. It's quite crazy, and the number of tanks, you were mentioning it earlier, it was 3 tanks like a minute and a half ago, and now it's 17.
How does it even work, Funka?
I don't know. Maybe he has factories that are actually producing faster than anybody else in the world. I don't know. He only has 3 tech labs. So.
Hey, Mapo, can you check if those reacted factories can produce 2 tanks at once? It's making sure he's playing by the rules over here. You know?
How many Vipers are we looking at on the side of Raynor? I think he only has... Okay, I saw that you had 1. 4 is a pretty decent number, but you don't want to fight without those, and you also need those Broodlords to be part of the fight.
I also feel like he's taking this fight too close to home. I mean, with the Broodlords, if you can land another parasitic bomb, that would be awesome. Basically, you want to make sure that those Vikings are not shooting at your Broodlords. The tanks from Inno's going to leave a couple behind here. Yeah. So that's a nice little pickup for Raynor. So Inno looked at it, army, and he's like, I'm not feeling it. I'm actually going to go back. I'd rather get some more anti-air. I'm going to get a few more Ravens, a few more Vikings, and takes a 6th base during all of this.
It's nuke time, because we have a Ghost Academy, 4 extra Raxes, but also the anti-air upgrade on the Cyclones. He's getting everything at the moment, and I like it that he realizes that he might not be able to break Raynor right there. He had an opportunity with the fight just before, but he just pulled out because of the high amount of Queens, the massive amount of Broodlords as well, and the Vipers that were filled with energy. So he went back and is now maybe thinking about, really hardcore late game, which means Ghost. which means defensive stance as well on the side of the Terran.
This one Hydra is doing really good, but meanwhile Inno is splitting up his mech army a little bit. He's going to recycle some of that supply, but not for nothing. He gets a cancel on that hatch. He also has 4 tanks on the bottom side of the map. I'm a little bit worried here for Reina because Inno is double expanding. Like I said, he took 12 o'clock, but he's also taking 9 o'clock. And now he got a cancel on the right top side, and he should be able to easily kill this hatch. But instead, it seems like he wants to go for the gold. And I mean, the gold doesn't have that much HP, so I don't really see any reason why Innovation wouldn't get it. Besides those million queens, actually.
Exactly, besides this million queen. But look at it, Innovation always hits at 2 sides at the same time, 2 spots. And right here gets 14 drones, gets a cancel on the hatch on the north side, as you said, but will not be able to destroy both the hatches that were on the south side. So maybe not the greatest of decision.
I think if he would have gone for this one, he would have got it, right?
Oh yeah,
because
definitely. The queens were too far. But the 14 queens he didn't expect.
No, neither did I actually. Oh, that one tank has been kind of ignored. Okay, a couple of Hydras are going to try to save the day. 6 goals being produced at once, though, like you mentioned, Funka. And he's getting 3 more. Innovation is just going to get an insane amount of goals, and he's been so freaking rich. How many drones did Inno kill in this game? Because I feel like it went up quite quick. 57. Now, Reino killed 45 SCVs, but I feel that Inno killed those drones when it mattered more, and also after he won a battle, which is the most painful situation for a Zerg.
Yeah.
As now the Cyclones are going to do what the tanks were not able to do.
Oh, missiles and snipes going on the side of Innovation here, killing a lot of units here and you know, hurting a little bit more. Cyclones will not be able to take down the hatchery though. But yeah, we're going into another crazy game on Neon Violet Square. I don't know if it's going to last for an hour, but
can you promise us that it won't?
I'm not sure I can.
Because yesterday when you did that, it turned into the sickest game on Acid Plant between Zero and Showtime.
It's not going to be an hour-long game, guys.
No?
No. But there's going to be nukes on top of armies. I can't tell you which one. Maybe Innovation nukes his own army, I don't know.
Ah, if he's a fan of Optimus, it's possible.
Yep. Did he actually make nukes? I think it's only for snipes.
I think it's just snipes for now.
Yeah.
He's got so many. He's going to snipe a bunch of these Brood Lords, but actually a couple of them gets cancelled as well. The Ravens are going to show up, but his army of Raynor is actually doing pretty damn good so far.
The Brood Lords are not being touched. It's only the Corruptors that are getting a little bit destroyed here, but the Brood Lords, they have free reign. Now Parasitic Bomb will connect, and actually he messed up his micro on this one, Innovation that is. It might lose the Planetary Fortress. He was just not ready. He does still have 11 ghosts, but the amount of mechanical units is just so low. It's only 2 tanks at the moment.
A lot of those snipes got cancelled. They're going to go forward one more time. I do like the fact that Reina is bringing 5 OCs to make sure he doesn't lose detection. Even bringing a couple of spores for some extra energy. The Viking count isn't super terrifying at this point. And you could really see the moment he landed those 2 parasitic bombs, that's the end for those Vikings. You're going to have to focus on splitting them up because Vikings, they don't have a lot of HP. So you can't just like right-click on a couple of Brood Lords while Parasitic Bomb is being dropped on your units.
And that's not a good idea at all, and he wasn't able to do it. But I'm liking it for Raynor that he goes for the Corruptor's Innovation with his Ghost right now, because the Brood Lords, they haven't been touched.
What's happening at
Okay, the Cyclone, okay, will be taken down. That hatch just won't die. The one at 6 o'clock is trying to be rebuilt as we speak. 13 more drones on the side of Raynor. But those Brood Lords still dealing a massive amount of damage, and we're looking at 2 bases that just got killed on the side of Innovation. So economically speaking, he does have 2 bases on the left side that are fairly healthy.
Wow, look at Inno. He's going like almost full-on bio. He's producing a lot of Marines as well, which I'm a little bit surprised by, but we'll see where he decides to take this. Maybe that's just a way for him to spend some of his additional minerals. Innovation had an incredibly high work count before, which is good for a while, but then it's also important to start trading. If you just sit back, then obviously in those big fights, your opponent is going to have a bigger army, and that's what we clearly saw there, as the anti-armor missiles are going to go down one more time.
Okay, the anti-missile armor is pretty good, but now can you take a fight with this? He's actually retreating because he did deal some damage. He reduced the armor, but he just doesn't have the units to fight against that army. The Hydralisk and Brood Lords, they are still dealing a massive amount of damage. Those 2 tanks on the front are actually going to get demolished right there. There's no energy left on those ghosts. The snipes there are being cancelled. Nice transfuses from Raynor, and I think the Italian player is doing it. He's actually breaking Innovation.
There's no answer against all these Brood Lords. The Vikings are going to show up one more time. They have been repaired. Can these Hydras get close enough? There are no Vipers here, so no Parasitic Bomb. A couple more anti-armor missiles are going down. I'm not sure if Fonka. Innovation seems like he's actually kind of holding now.
Okay.
And with these Vikings showing up, now there is an answer to those Broodlords.
Okay, he will hold in the end, but boy, that was super tough. Actually getting some pulls on the Ghost, which are the most expensive units here in the army of Innovation. So I like it on the side of Raynor, but he did hold in the end. Look at the resources tab, 40k, 44k to the 42k that were lost from Raynor. Such a close game here.
What a hold. And I kind of like that Inno was hiding those Vikings for a while, that he didn't want to send them in too early, made sure that he could maybe pick off a few of those Hydras. Because once again, they don't have a lot of HP, but obviously they do have firepower. And that is the one way to deal with those Broodlords. Inno's not sure if he can really go for that gold. He leaves the Cyclone behind, but the Hydras are going to try to pick off some of these units that we're trying to retreat. And this is actually a pretty sweet fight for Raynor.
Yeah, he did get a lot of Hellbats. And
did he deal with the
Cyclone?
Yeah, he did, right?
Yeah, he handled it on the other side. But I like it that he transitioned into that massive amount of medivac. Even the Ghosts, they were holding their own pretty well. Even the Hellbats are actually going to be, you know, a little bit helped on this matter. But that base on the north side, with 3-3 upgrades, he should have gone for it.
Yeah, I think you can do it, but he didn't have that many roaches in the mix. Maybe he was a little bit nervous. But yeah, if you split up your focus fire, you focus down a couple of the SCVs as well. It was doable, but Raynor doesn't want to take a risk, which I understand because he's not maxed out and he has no money in the bank. So it's very easy for us to say, like, oh, go for the planetary there, mate. But if he ends up losing 7 Hydras, he can't replace them anymore. Yeah,
definitely. Can we take a look at the income tab for a bit? Because I do feel like Innovation is still doing quite well with those 2 bases in the left side, which is an issue. I think Raynor doesn't really know about the one at 8 o'clock. So, yeah, he doesn't know about it. And he wish he knew because... that's a massive issue right now because Innovation keeps on building and reproducing as much as he can. On the north side, he did get the base out.
That's a nice little position for your Hydra. Behind the middle line, super annoying for Innovation to deal with it. I'm sure he will send a couple units eventually. On creep, though, I still kind of like this for Raynor, who's buying time, who has a good economy himself, but perhaps not for super long, as these aliens are going to show up, and that's a lot of dead drones.
Oh my god. That's 18 drones and still counting. It will reach 20 and a couple of aliens will actually survive and live to tell the tale. This army, it's interesting, but it doesn't have the highest quality. We are talking about like massively Hellbats. How many is there? I mean, 21.
The ghost count isn't really there anymore, though. This
he lost every single barracks.
What a game by Innovation, though. It's really, he did loot. Nah, he lost a lot.
Okay.
But, the sick thing about Inno is that he's just like kind of doing everything right now. He's going back to the heavy tank count again, but the Viper count is sort of there. It's just very important that when the big battle happens, that Raynor protects his Vipers, because the Vipers are the answer against the tanks. But of course, the Vikings and the Ravens are going to try to snipe them.
Okay, it's going to be tough with the missile coming from the Ravens on massive amount of Idolisk, and those Hellbats, aliens, and tanks are actually doing the job, not even sieging the tanks, which I think is a really good decision on the side of Innovation. He wants to take the fight, and if he were to siege them, then Raynor would have been able to just flee out of here. And now the Hellions, they're just doing their work and killing every single Hydra. That was such a painful fight for Raynor.
Yep, it was just Hydras, very, very exposed there in the end, kind of pushed into a corner. He had a couple roaches out on the map, but they were just not with that Hydra force. Now Raynor goes back into Zerglings, which I often always feel is like a desperation move. It's like, look at all those roaches that he had actually out on the map. Imagine if they were there, it would have been a different fight. The tanks are going to siege up. Now obviously the Viper count isn't really there anymore, and I am very worried here for Raynor.
Even using a Matrix on the Viper and telling him, like, just go away, you know. And is there going to be another opportunity for Raynor to take a good fight? He will try to do it, but he's a little bit blocked by those neon violet squares, but he does get a 360 surround here on the tanks. Is it going to be enough with massive amount of roaches? They take extra damage from those tanks with +3 attack. And Innovation, it was quite scary at a moment, but I feel like he's done it.
Best possible fight for Raynor, but not going to be enough in the end. After losing all those Hydras, I guess that was the point of no return, as Innovation was ready to revenge himself, perhaps, for losing against Mexico. He lost 2 TVTs, but he gets the job done here against Italy, and South Korea will be heading to Paris.
It was expected, and they did it with fashion here, with an all-kill from Innovation in the pure tradition of South Korean teams, with Inno carrying quite hard.